To get started today, the first thing that I want to do is just to take a quick poll, and we'll do that here in Zoom, is a quick poll of all of you to see how familiar you are with these platforms, with Mentimeter and with Slido. So we are going to put that poll in Zoom, and I think Anne-Marie will put that, there it is, it pops up. So if you will please go ahead and submit your response and let me know how familiar you are with these platforms, kind of where you are in your interaction with them. Maybe you've been a participant in maybe a meeting or an audience where you've used them, or maybe you've created yourself, or maybe they are brand new to you and you are just adding some new tools to your tool belt, which is awesome as well.
All right. Well, we have everyone has participated. Thank you so much. So I'm going to end the poll, and then we're going to bring up the results. Here are the results. Ryan, confirm. Can you see them?
I do. Okay. I do. So I can tell. So most of us, this is going to be new information, which is great. I love that. I love that. All right. So let's just jump right in. So throughout the course of this presentation today, I'm going to encourage you to be very interactive. So submit your questions in the chat, raise your hand if you feel like you need to unmute and ask a question, or when we go into the demo side, please, please, please get in there and participate as well. So very interactive, and I want to help answer any questions that you may have as we go along. So firstly, let's talk about the benefits of using tools like Menti and Slido. So if you're looking at this picture, and just take a minute to kind of look at the picture, you can see that you have an audience here, and looking at that audience, you might have multiple reactions. At least that's what I felt when I saw it. So in the front, you have these two guys who look like they are really into maybe vibing along with whatever is being presented. This guy down here, I kind of felt like he might be booing or preparing to boo, so maybe he's not into it. And then you have another guy who just seems to have no reaction at all to what's happening. And so the benefits of presentation tools like Mentimeter and Slido are that whether you're in person or whether you're presenting virtually, you have that immediate audience feedback. So where you can be live and looking at the audience and hearing the audience, maybe in this picture, Mentimeter and Slido are opportunities for your participants to share their voice in your presentation. So sometimes our audiences might get larger. Sometimes we have some who are maybe a little shyer to speak out. And these tools really give that platform to all of your participants, and then allow you as a presenter to adjust as needed on the spot, because you're collecting data in real time with your audiences. So comparing that and talking maybe about PowerPoint. So right now we are in PowerPoint, and there may be some limitations to PowerPoint because for the most part, it's a one-way communication. Your presenter is giving you information, but it's very limited in what you as an audience are able to give back or feedback to the presenter. So again, you're looking at tools like Mentimeter and Slido that give that opportunity for that communication to go both ways. So our objectives for today are that we do a walkthrough or overview of both of the platforms. You guys will participate in a demo of both platforms, and then we will go behind the scenes with a tour of the platforms. And then I'll, of course, allow you opportunity to share your ideas and plan for implementation, because that's really where we set those tones for going forward. And then, of course, answer any questions that you might have along the way and at the end. Okay, so the first platform we are going to look at is Mentimeter. So this is the Mentimeter logo, and this tool can be accessed. The website is www.mentimeter.com, and we will share that again later in the presentation as well. But this is what Mentimeter looks like. So if you happen to look for it, this is the logo you would look for. So Mentimeter, it sort of operates from the viewpoint that presentation platforms like PowerPoint or maybe Google Slides is not interactive, as we just discussed. So it wants users to come over to its platform, create presentations to deliver content, and then also have those interactive elements integrated. So in Mentimeter, you can create content slides to present your information. And throughout your presentation, the audience can react. They can ask questions to the material that's being presented. And then when you're creating the content slides in Mentimeter, there are 8 different formats or slide formats that you can present the information, and those are listed here. Images can be added to the layout of the slides, and they can also be, the layout can be customized, can be changed for the customization. So once you're in that kind of development phase of creating a Mentimeter, you do have some options to really kind of customize the layout of your presentation. So these steps that you're seeing here would be very similar to what you may be familiar with if you've used Google Slides or PowerPoint. So creating slides, putting your content on the slides, and then of course, Mentimeter does have some formatted templates for you to be able to present that content. The interactive aspects of Mentimeter. So throughout presentations, your Mentimeter presentations, your participants can ask questions and give reactions to the slide on screen. You can ask questions to your audience and then see and respond to their comments or questions in real time. And there are 6 different formats that the information can be presented. So you have a multiple choice question, which presents the responses in a graph format. And then there are multiple customizations that you can make to that output. A word cloud, many of you may be familiar with a word cloud. You've seen them, they look so pretty and colorful with the big words coming in. So you would have a question, your participants would submit their entries to your question, and then the output becomes that beautiful word cloud. And so for entries that have, or words or that have multiple entries, you might see them represented by the larger words in that cloud. So again, it's giving you that data, that feedback, but in a very colorful way. The open-ended questions the responses are displayed on screen as the participants submit, and then there are still multiple customizations available to that output as well. And then scales, those allow the participants to respond to the question by putting their answer on a sliding scale. So for example, on a scale of 1 to 5, how strongly do you agree with this statement? That would be a scale. Ranking presents the question and multiple choices, and the participants put the choices in a rank order. So that again is allowing the presenter to poll the audience in real time. And then Q&A. So as I mentioned, question and answers can be asked throughout the entire presentation, but you can also have a specific Q&A slide that is dedicated to answer audience questions. So not only can be throughout, but then you also have a slide that you can put in there to, again, go ahead and address those questions and format it and lay out customizations just like the other slides. And so this gives everyone in your audience the ability to have their voice heard. Therefore, it's keeping them engaged and keeping them actively participating in your presentation or your class or your training. Another element of Mentimeter are quiz competitions. So if you're familiar with Kahoot, which is very, very popular in the classrooms, quiz competition style questions are presented to the audience, and then the audience must answer within the time that's allowed. So the participants with the quickest correct answers get the most points. And then at the end, you can choose to have a leaderboard that is shown. That's if you like to have that competitive element to your activity or not, but still you have that quiz element, competition kind of environment that you can build into there. There are 2 formats for the quiz competitions, and that is a multiple choice where they select an answer, or they can type in an answer, just depending upon how you set that up. And then lastly, we have advanced questions. So they're looking for specific input. So advanced question slides allow the presenter to collect specific input from the audience. So the 100 points, participants are given multiple options, and then they have 100 total points that they can assign to those items. So it allows the participants to prioritize the items presented to them with a numerical value. And then you have a 2x2 grid that displays their scoring of items on a grid. So you can customize that grid layout. You can change the labels of the X and Y axis, and you can also set the axis limits. You have who will win. And who will win, participants are rating the contestants, quote unquote. So contestants can be customized to represent any type of option that you want them to vote on. And then pin on image. And pin on image, you will present an image and the participants will drop a pin to give their response to the question. So for example, you might put up an image of a map and you can say, drop a pin and, maybe show me where you're from or show me where you live now, that kind of thing. So the pin on image is them responding by dropping a pin on an image. Okay, and so now our next step is actually to move into the demo. Let's actually experience this. But before I do, I want to make sure, are there any questions about what Mentimeter contains or the elements within Mentimeter?
Ryan, while we're waiting for questions, none right now, but let's see, but just some great comments about these features. And Yoliette says that's pretty neat. And yes. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this name right. So Ekateri, I think, did I say that right? If not, I apologize. So they're just saying that they look, the interaction looks very good.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yes. Okay. So how many questions? Oh, good question.
You see it. Okay, you got the question.
How many questions are available in Mentimeter? Good question. So we're talking here, and everything I'm talking about today is in the free account. And so there are limits to the number of questions that you can put into a free account presentation. And that is, I don't want to say the number wrong, but I do have a slide in there. I want to say it's like 2 or 3, but I will come back to that for sure, Tiffany, to give you an exact answer. But yes, there are limits to the number of question slides that you can put in each individual presentation, but you can create unlimited presentations, and that's all on the free account with no paying. And no, is that Katerina? I hope I'm saying it right too. Sorry. Do you need to buy this program? No, you do not have to buy it. There are free accounts, and again, with the free account, you can create unlimited presentations with Mentimeter, and it's just a limit with the specific type of content slide or question slides that you can put into each individual presentation. So of course, if you pay, then you can upgrade and have unlimited everything if that's what you need. Yes, a slide format, the difference between Google Slide and Mentimeter. So the slide format is that it is a slide format, but it's all on the Mentimeter application or platform. Okay, so the difference is, with Google Slides or maybe with PowerPoint, you're just still giving that information kind of in a one direction from presenter to audience. And Mentimeter is saying, here, put your content slides here so you can present information to your audience, but as well, we're giving you the tools to now get information back from your audience all in that same presentation in that one platform of Mentimeter. And so I think this is a good segue into our demo, but if you have questions, please continue to put them in the chat. And I'm going to put the access information on the screen. So to access Mentimeter as a participant, which is what you're going to do, on this slide, I'm showing you the 3 different ways that you can have participants access it. So in the chat is going to be the easiest and most convenient way to access the presentation, and you can click that link in the chat. If you are on 2 devices, so maybe you're on your computer and you have a mobile device available, you can take your camera and scan the QR code. If you did not click the link and you just opened a browser, you can see that you can go to menti.com, www.menti.com, and put in our presentation code. So you have 3 ways, but the easiest way to access is going to be the link in the chat, and that's that one with the menti.com/F6IBK, that one. So let me know. I want to take a moment. I want make sure everyone is able to get into the presentation. And while you do that, I'm going to make sure I get my presentation on the screen.
And while we're doing that,
we're going to go through this demo so that you can experience a Menti from the audience perspective and get in that seat and feel those shoes. Yes, I love it. I love these reactions happening here. Welcome to this Mentimeter demo. And so throughout this demonstration, I'm going to encourage you to participate in all the questions, test out all of the features from the participant perspective. Feel free to like slides, ask real or practice questions, and then kind of really, again, put yourself in those shoes of your future audience, and then kind of start to think about how you would use this tool in your professional capacity or assignment. And so as I'm going through this, I might also point out some functionality of the features that we've discussed in that walkthrough, just for you to get an opportunity again to see them in action after I've mentioned them. So at the bottom of the slides, and some of you have already started using them, you will see some icons. So you can leave a comment, you can like the slide, you can hit the question mark if you have a question and submit your question. You can give a thumbs up or thumbs down if you dislike it. I see the little cat, and I'm going to be honest, I really don't know what the little cat face is for. I like it. So it's there.
Sorry, that was me. I was like, what's this cat? Sorry.
I don't know, but I mean, if you're feeling catty, I guess, yeah. I don't know.
I'll look into that.
Yes. And then also, again, another comment option there. So you have some options to use. Again, test them out, send little test messages or real messages, and they'll all start coming through as we're going through this demo. Okay, so again, just kind of highlighting some of the features of Mentimeter that you're able to poll your students or participants. One, by maybe building word clouds, you're collecting data, you're giving quizzes, and you're presenting content. So you might actually be teaching or giving that content to your audience. So this is a quote from one of the blogs on the Mentimeter site. And so as I mentioned, their perspective is that just going straight maybe through PowerPoint isn't as interactive. It doesn't allow for that communication. And Mentimeter is what that platform is built for. It's built to give audience engagement. But then when you have that audience engagement, you do have that opportunity to go back and download that data and understand maybe what's working and what's not. So not only making adjustments in real time, but also maybe for future training or lessons that you might be teaching. So this is a quote and the picture of a young girl who is just in awe at all that Mentimeter can do. So we're not going to watch this video now, but you can embed Zoom videos in a Mentimeter presentation. So if you are familiar or do use Zoom, you can embed Mentimeter. And so you can watch this 5-minute video that will show you how to integrate Mentimeter into your Zoom meetings. And I think the link is there, and you will be able to go back and review this Menti presentation at a later time. I'll leave it open for that. So that way, if you do want to go back and click the link to watch the video, it's pretty informative and straight to the point and tells you how to do that. Okay, so it's time for a quiz. So if you're following along, I want to make sure everybody is with me. On your device, you should see the presentation as I'm going through it. It should be moving as I'm going through each slide on your device. And so now we're going to go into a quiz. So what you will see on the screen is a question. There will be a timer. You'll also hear some very cheesy game show music, and then you're going to answer the question on the screen as quickly as you can. Okay, so just a test drive of our quiz competition slides.
So Ryan, just to clarify for everybody, they're still in Mentimeter with you right now.
Yes.
And they're going to do it in the demo, correct?
In the demo. So as we go
good.
to the next slide, your device should go to the next, to the quiz. So I'm just making sure everybody is with me on the quiz so they're ready, because for those of us who are competitive,
Exactly.
whether it's pretend or not, you want to win.
Yes. All right. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So here we go. There we go. Look at your phone to answer the question. Very good. All right, let's go to the next one. know this music is so cheesy. It's like that Kahoot music. Eventually, like, just turn it off. All right. And there is our leaderboard. So whoever Dragonite is our winner. If you are Dragonite, oh yeah, way to go, Tiffany. Oh, wow. Also had to stop the music. Awesome job. Yes, go Tiffany. So you guys did great in participating in a quick quiz competition and remembering my name. Thank you. All right. So just based on kind of where we are so far, we've talked about just in general and overall how Mentimeter functions. You're currently participating in a demo, and now just give us a scale, score yourself. Yes, where you are kind of on this slide. Mentimeter, oh, awesome. So kind of halfway, understanding. Yes, Ashley, it is free. It is free. So the maximum amount of questions that I could add for the free account is what I did add to this demo. Yes, I did not pay for Mentimeter. It's all free. Good. So you're seeing in real time on the screen as each participant is submitting their answer or scaling their score, you're seeing the adjustment. So it went from 3.3 on the first question, now it moved over to 3.6. It went from 5 on the third question and come down to 4.1, but you can see in real time, okay, where we are. So if I'm really giving you content, which I am, you're presenting, I can see here, okay, do I need to adjust? Do I need to maybe slow down just based on this particular question that I'm asking and kind of scaling yourself or scoring yourself? So again, you have the ability when you're creating these to change the questions, of course, and the responses that you're trying to gain answers to, or questions that you're trying to gain answers to. So yes, awesome. So it looks like you guys are all moving towards the strongly agree, which is really good. Yes. Okay. And so now I want to give you a moment to just kind of brainstorm and think ideas maybe that have just come into your head of how you could implement or use Mentimeter. So in your capacity, go ahead and submit those. And for this question, you can submit multiple times. So maybe you've thought of multiple things that you could do and put them up there. Yes, go ahead and share, put them in. Yes, great. And again, in real time, you're seeing your responses and as well as the responses of your classmates or peers or the rest of the audience. Interactive, yes. For student feedback, absolutely. Student check-in for remote classes. It becomes so important, especially in this remote environment. Absolutely. How are we able to keep those students kind of engaged, giving their feedback, feeling like they are being heard or part of that class? That is excellent for that remote class check-in. Brainstorming, yes. Student quizzes, formative assessments, absolutely. I love it, math problems. And if we could be so much more specific. I thought about that, especially when we were talking about the X and the Y axis and presenting the outcome of that particular type of question, the 2x2 grid. That plays so well into math when you do start talking about graphs and things like that. Yes, student quiz, tech practice, absolutely. So you have some ideas here of how you could implement this, not only, Brenda, yes, IET training, absolutely. Math problems, yes. So you have so many ideas here of how you could begin to kind of use Mentimeter going forward, right? So you wanting to implement it immediately, maybe you have something coming up within the next 30 days or so that you think, okay, I can make that particular presentation or that activity a little bit more interactive and build a Mentimeter activity into that. And lastly, we have the Ask Me Anything. So as I said, you could throughout the presentation have any questions, ask Q&As, questions on any of the slides, but here is a slide specifically dedicated to asking questions. So about this Menti presentation so far, you can submit your questions through the Menti and then I would see them. Oh, yes. A little dog with his paw raised. Thank you. I love the pictures of the dogs. Yes, it is. It is great for those who may not be as vocal, right? So who might be hesitant to ask a question out loud. And if you just don't have a question, but you want to see maybe what it looks like if you do submit a question, go ahead and just type something in there like test or practice so that you can kind of see, what happens when you do submit submit a question, that's fine as well, just to kind of test out that feature.
Ryan, tell me
Yes.
if this week you want to curb this question for maybe later, and you may have already addressed this, but for students who are using their phones, it works the same way, right? They can
Yes.
access, they can see all of this on their phone device if they're not logged into Zoom on the computer or to, have access to a computer. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It looks the same. The slides progress as the presenter is moving through the presentation, just the same way on your mobile device, whether it's a tablet or whether they're on the computer. It functions the same way, and the participants have the same ability to interact and provide their feedback. So yes. Okay. So we're going to move back out of our demo and just go over now what it takes to create a Mentimeter on the presenter side. So what it would take for you to create a Menti activity. So first, you would go to Mentimeter.com, which is different from the site that it's different from the site that the students or participants would use. So you went to Menti.com as a participant, but to create it, you're going to Mentimeter.com, and that is where you create your account and then create your presentation. So free account, unlimited audience, unlimited presentations. You can have up to 2 question slides. So in my presentation, my question slides, you saw there were just 2, and then 5 quiz slides. So I think we had 2 or 3 quiz questions in that presentation. Again, the upgrades, money always gives you more. So there's some additional features that you can access once you do purchase or if you decide to upgrade. But for what I was doing, and there's unlimited content slides, I want to say that and make sure that's clear. So when you're presenting just content, not questions, not quizzes, unlimited content slides in your presentation. So again, if you have a lot of content to get through and then you just those moments where you need interaction, you have that ability to do that. So how to create a presentation, you're going to log into your account. You can create an account using Gmail. That's, to me, the easiest way to create that account. Give your presentation a name. You're going to add slides to it and then put the content into your slides. So I want to go over into the demo side, and so that you can see kind of that behind the scenes of what happens in creating a Menti presentation. Okay, so let's log in. And this is what it will look like when you get to that main page. It would have that sign up option, obviously, but I'm just going to go into my presentations. And this is your Mentimeter dashboard. So you would create a new presentation, or if you're looking for some inspiration, there are some inspirations. This is the main page. So where you would log in, and I'm going in because I'm already logged in into my presentations. And then you would create a new presentation if you want to create new, or if you're looking for like the inspiration slide. So you want to see maybe some ideas to spark, ideas for you, you can do that, then the inspiration. So back to just my presentations, you would be here, create a new presentation. And then anytime you see this green star on anything, that means it's an upgraded or you need to upgrade to access that specific feature. And you'll see those, which I like that they label it. So that way you don't start to try to do something and then realize you can't because you have not paid for it. So we created and labeled our Menti, and then here is what it looks like once you're creating that presentation. So at the top, you would add a slide if you need to, but right here, we're going to choose the type. So we have a blank slide, and we're going to choose what type of slide we want it to be. So whether it's content slide down here, whether you want to start off with questions, creating the quiz competitions, or if you're looking at those advanced type questions, you're going to choose the type of slide that it will be. Once you've selected that type of slide, you're going to insert the content that you want on the slide. So this is where you customize it. You put your questions, your responses, and all of those type of things. You can add images, which you saw, like I added the dog or the little girl. I added those images here. And then of course, adjusting the layout as well. So you have some options to customize what you want it to look like. And that's even on here, some of that layout and what you want your presentation to have. So each time that you want to add a content slide or add a question, quiz slide, you're going to click up here, the blue button, add slide, and you're going to continue to choose that type of slide, enter your content, and then customize it as appropriate. You can also change the theme. So it's just kind of black and white going in, but if you want to make it a little bit more customized, they have some preset themes that you can choose from. And again, they're identified here. If you need to upgrade to the specific type of one, this one is a paid account one, this one is paid, but the rest of these are free. So you can change the colors, or if, again, those upgraded parts were creating new themes. So you have lots of free options to still customize your Menti presentation. And then going into your settings, and this is what you'll see afterwards for participants who might be looking at this at a later time, or even if you want to come back to it and look at it again, I can change this from presenter pace to audience pace. And that means that instead of your device moving along with how I'm presenting or the presenter is presenting, your audience pace means that you can kind of move through the presentation as you wish. So going back and forth through the slides. So if that's something that you needed to do, you can change that. And again, some more customizations like that you might want. So I chose in our demo to have Q&A on all slides because I wanted that ability for you to interact at any point. So again, depending upon how you're presenting or what you're presenting, maybe you only want that Q&A on the Q&A slide, or maybe you want that on all slides. So looking through your settings to really customize that specific presentation. Once your presentation is created, and you're done, you're ready to present, you'll click this blue button to present and it takes you into presentation mode. And Mentimeter provides you with all of the access options. So remember, I presented you with the link that you could click to join the presentation. I presented you with a QR code and I presented you with a temporary voting code. So they're all here. So you would click that share button and then you can choose how you want to help your participants connect to your presentation, and they're all created for you. So I love that the QR code is built in. You don't have to try to create the QR code or anything. It's all right there for you to
Wonderful.
do.
Ryan,
Yes.
quick question since we're right here. And okay, so I think, Jesse, we did answer your question. So students do not need to sign up for an account, correct? They can just access it these 3 ways, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And you saw that when you guys participated, they gave you, little fake names. Like, what was it? What were you, the dragon or something?
Dragon Light or something.
Yeah. So you all had these anonymous names. So yes, if you have Menti accounts, it can be more, known, but it doesn't know. They do not have to log in. They do not have to have an account to participate in your Menti.
Wonderful. And then just another question that I had. So yes, you're limited to the types of questions that you can use, but you can have unlimited presentations, right? So the teachers can have a library so they don't have to delete and then create another one, right?
Yes. And that's another thing. So if I go back to my dashboard, you can create folders. So work around that free limitation and say you have a very long presentation that you want to have multiple questions and quizzes and all of that. Create a folder and say, hey, this is, presentation XYZ, and then, put part 1, part 2, part 3, and build into it, all of it. Now that would just make your participants have to, of course, join each of those individually newly, but it does give you a workaround to maybe the limits of the free account if you wanted to have more interactivity or quizzes for specific topics. So yes, you can kind of build your dashboard, create folders, organize all of your mentees as you need them. So the last part I want to show you is what it looks like on the output side. So first of all, I was presenting through here. So this is, and can you still see that? Are you still there?
Yes, we can still see it.
Okay, good. So I was presenting through here. So similar to PowerPoint, I'm looking, I can see questions as they're coming in. I'm moving through the presentation back and forth. All of that, you kind of have your headquarters here, and my presentation of the Menti was going forward to my audience. But then on the other side of that, you want to see maybe what the output looks like of all of that you submitted. So we can download the results of everything that you submitted during that demo. On the free side, you can only download it as a PDF, but again, the upgrade, you can do it as an Excel. But seeing everything. I'm seeing where there were reactions. I'm seeing my leaderboard, responses to the questions. So I can go back and look at all of that was presented, the ideas. So if I wanted to share, so you guys could say, hey, what were the ideas that my other peers had? I could definitely share the results through an email, the PDF, and then you can have them as well. And so you have the data that you've collected in the Menti. Yes, great for lesson planning. You have the information you created in the Mentimeter, the data to go back to and refer to. So that's on the other end of what we actually just did today, just now. Nobody had questions or upvotes, so that's everything. That was all that we did. So I'm going to pause this and just kind of move back over to our PowerPoint. And before we transition to our next platform, I want to ask if there are any questions about Menti before we make that transition to Slido. So let's talk about Slido. So this is the Slido logo, and the application can be accessed through the site, which is www.sli.do. And we will share that again later in the presentation as well. So this is what you will see when you go to the Slido site. So Slido is very similar to Mentimeter. It is an interactive presentation platform with some slight differences. So where Mentimeter was pulling you out of, say, presentation tools like PowerPoint and Google Slides and saying, go into the Mentimeter platform to do that, Slido here is not necessarily being able to present content, but just more of the collection of the data, that interactivity in that asking your audience question. So the first element that they have are the interactive polls. So just very similar actually in even name to the Mentimeter questions, you have different types of polls. So you can present that multiple choice question. And again, it presents it in a graph format with customizations. You can do the word cloud where participants put their input and then it's presented. The output is a word cloud. There's the quiz where the question is presented to the audience and then they have to answer within the time allowed. So very similar to that quiz competition that we just did. And then rating. Participants would give a star rating to the options that are presented. Open test, which is an open text, is an open-ended question. Responses are displayed on the screen and the participants would submit their responses to the question. And then ranking presents the question and then multiple choices for the participants to rank in order of importance. So very similar to what we actually just saw in Mentimeter. But in Slido, you're also able to share ideas. So this is great for facilitating brainstorming sessions by collecting ideas from the participants. Under an idea tab, you can create multiple idea topics for a single event. Okay, and so in Slido, events are what they call their presentations. And I'll explain why just in a moment. So instead of they say presentation, they call it an event. So you can create multiple idea topics for a single presentation or event. So the cool feature, which I found super cool about Slido, is that it can be integrated with your presentation applications. So where Slido doesn't necessarily have the ability to present content, it's integrated into those content presentation applications like Google Slides or PowerPoint, Microsoft Teams, and then there's also what's called a Slido switcher, which is kind of like a remote to use with Slido. It's not necessarily a chat room. It's a brainstorm session, right? So you present an idea, and then you're asking them to, or a question, and then you're asking your participants to give ideas for that specific topic. And you can create multiple topics. So just depending upon maybe what your meeting is or what your presentation or event is, you might have multiple topics that you need to brainstorm, or one topic that needs to be brainstormed maybe for the next meeting. So things like that. So it's not necessarily a chat room, I would say, but just a way where a specific spot where you are collecting ideas on a specific topic. So with that, the upgraded accounts, again, this is all free that I'm presenting, but upgraded accounts do have some other integration options. But because we are here and this is the cool feature, let's go for it. And we are actually going to use our Slido right here in our PowerPoint. So I'm not going to have to switch over to my internet browser like I did with Mentimeter. I'm staying right here in my PowerPoint, and then you will go into your demo and participate again as an audience in this Slido demo. Okay, so on the next screen, let's go here, and I will put up the way to join. Okay, so just like before, there are options for you to join. And thank you, you are on it in your chat. The easiest way for you to join this Slido presentation or event is to click the link in your chat. But you also have a QR code if you are using maybe your cell phone device along with a computer or something like that. Or your participants can go to slido.com on their device, and then they would put in that join code or meeting code. So the three options, but the easiest option is going to be the link that is in the chat. So I'm gonna take a moment. Let's make sure everyone is able to get into the Slido. And while we do that, I'm just gonna pull up something on the screen so I can be looking, and let me know if you have any questions accessing that Slido.
Let's do it the same way. What do you think? Give us a thumbs up. So you're not on the Slido yet, right? You're still showing your PowerPoint, correct? Right?
Yes. No.
Okay.
That's where we should be. We're staying in PowerPoint.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so have a thumbs up. Let's do a thumbs up if you're there. And if you have any issues or, challenges, let us know in the chat pod, because I think that worked really well last time, I think, just to let us know. Okay.
Good. And I'm just looking in the background. So one of the features, which we'll talk about more, is that I can see on Slido the number of joined participants. So right now I see that there are 13 participants that have joined this Slido.
Awesome.
And already a few of you have engaged with it. So awesome. Great. So I think, is that 13? Is that how many we have here? That's everybody?
I think so, not minus us, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, and again, as I love how Ryan said, we don't want to leave anyone behind here. So let us know in the chat pod if you need help. Okay.
All right. So,
but I think we're ready. No,
okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so let's go into our first slide of our Slido. So one thing you'll notice is that in Slido, it continues to have the join information on the screen throughout the entire Slido presentation. So at any point, if you get disconnected, need to jump back in, anything like that. All right, so we have a quiz here. So Slido is great. Oh, good. I see everybody joining, putting in their name. So yes, it does have you on this one, enter a name, whereas in the other one, you were given like an anonymous, but someone can, if you want them to choose an animal or however you want your participants to label themselves, you could do that as well. But we have that here. Good. So I see you guys have joined the quiz. So we are going to start off with a little quiz first. So here is your first question, and you'll see the timer counting down. And then we have our answers. Yes. So we have 89% who said true. And the answer to that is actually true. We go to the next one, and it's going to show our leaderboard. So AW is in first place, Ford, and then Dr. Robinson in third place. All right. So here is your next question. Great. The answer is false. You do not have to pay to create an account in either Mentimeter nor Slido. Good. Let's look at our leaderboard. Uh-oh. We've got Tiffany moving up to third place. All right. And next question. Oh, 100% correct. Very good. Yes. There are application integrations, Google Slides and PowerPoint being the two main ones for sure. Good. All right. We're holding steady. We have another question, and here we go. Yes. I was hoping everyone gives 100%. This should be true. Hopefully, yes. Implement these tools in your presentations in your classrooms for sure. Good. All right. And we have our leaderboard, and Ford is the winner of this quiz competition. So way to go, Ford. Very good. Okay. So now just kind of looking at Slido, and you've had a little bit of experience in kind of feeling it out. And what ideas would you have for implementation for Slido? Would they be similar, the same to Mentimeter? Would they be different from Mentimeter? I want you to go ahead and submit what ideas or thoughts you might have about implementing Slido so far. Yes, the bronze medal, Tiffany. Good, good. And again, you're seeing in real time as you guys are responding, what your responses are to this question. So similar to Mentimeters, that formative assessment, polling your audience, using it for questioning. Yes, it is very similar to Mentimeter. Brain teasers and brainstorming, for sure. I would love to see that. I would love to see those ideas, how you do that.
And Ryan,
Yes.
Carlotta made a really good point in the chat pod. She said, I believe they both can be used in different ways as well as in the same in real time. So I thought that was very good because there are some
Yes.
distinct, differences.
Yes. And Carlotta, if you get a chance, go in the chat and let us know, like, what would be the different ways? That's what I'm interested to see. What would be the different ways? Because there are similarities for sure between the two platforms, but the differences, and maybe if you could share exit tickets, please, Carlotta. Thank you. Most probably the same. Yeah. Training, definitely. So I can see this definitely used in a training as well. So again, maybe if it's your presentation style and you're like, I like to build my presentations in PowerPoint or Google Slides, but now I just want to integrate this interactivity into what I already do, what I already know how to do. That's awesome. You can do that with Slido. If you want to get out of that platform of Google Slides or PowerPoint and go into Mentimeter, you have that difference. And then we'll talk about a couple more differences here in a moment. So even though I'm going to go beyond these slides, you can continue submitting your responses to these questions, okay? I see some comments, some questions here. Got here, good. So these are comments that you guys have left immediately. And this is an opportunity for you to share your feedback on this slide as well. So if there's something else you'd like to add or say, or just test out right here, go ahead and put your question or comment here. And just on the presenter side, ooh, good question. Okay, so let me say this. On the presenter side, you can move questions to the top, which is what I'm going to do right now. In my opinion, which one do you find easier to use for teachers? Wow. So I guess maybe it would depend upon, oh man, what? It's such a good question.
I asked that on purpose.
I mean, first of all, I think it would kind of depend upon kind of where you are in your level. Like, so like I said, if you are a person who is very familiar with Google Slides or PowerPoint, and that's kind of where your groove is, but you want to integrate these type of tools in that, I think that Slido would be great for that, because you're getting the same type of poll question or quote Q&A options in Slido and Mentimeter. If that's not your presentation style, I think Mentimeter would be great too, because it's very easy to use and you can add a little bit more color and a little bit more customization on those slides than what you can in Slido.
So Ryan, to kind of piggyback off of Ashley's question,
yes.
When you say integration, because I think that's where I'm getting tripped up with Mentimeter, you actually have to create the slide. So I think that's why Dr. Robinson says Slido, less tech know-how needed. Whereas in Slido, you create your PowerPoint, and when you're ready, you just go to Slido to one little part, right? Is that a good way to describe it?
In a way. So, okay. So with Mentimeter, you are creating everything on the Mentimeter platform. You're creating your slides and all of that in that Mentimeter website. With Slido, you can create your Q&As because there's no content presentation slide available in Slido. So it's just those polling quizzes type questions. It's not a presentation option when you're in Slido. So you can, if you just wanted to say poll, you could present from Slido. But if you had some content that you wanted to present first or along with your questions and polling, then you would need to create those slides on an outside platform like PowerPoint or Google Slides. And so Slido allows you to integrate it by downloading that extension, right? And then once you're in PowerPoint, you don't have to bounce between, oh, let me go from my PowerPoint into my Slido. It's all right here. I have not left PowerPoint at all. I'm still in PowerPoint presenting my Slido.
Okay. See, I thought you left. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, and you've got a lot of great comments. Okay, go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, you got tons of great comments. I asked that question for a reason, because I've been using Slido recently.
Okay.
And I find it, and so I always have people come up to me because, I always try to consider all tech levels, of course. And so whenever I'm always thinking about the newer teachers, like somebody just said in there, a lot of us are still getting used to tech. And in my opinion, that's why I was wondering what your opinion was. I found Slido to be easier on the teacher itself. Like Mentimeter's fun and awesome and beautiful, but even as the teachers with a lot of experience, and even Tiffany and I used it like in the last year, I think, I had a struggle, and it's always when I'm in front of somebody, and it's not a big deal, just something to get used to. Whereas with Slido, I just felt like it was quick and easy to learn.
I can say
and
that.
Of course, I do have tech skills. So when I say quick and easy, I just found it to be more simple to get started and to use and to share. And I just think that should be noted for anybody who's just now getting started with technology. That's just my opinion, though. I could be wrong on that.
No, but I think the clarification between what Ashley just asked and what I asked, did that help everybody kind of see the difference? Kind of give us a thumbs up here. Yeah. Okay, good. Yes. Okay, so here come the thumbs. That's really good. Here come the thumbs. Oh Lord. I want to go back to what Carlotta answered your question, Ryan, and she said the different ways Slido can be used for live polls, while Mentimeter can be used for more presentations, in my opinion. And and Carlotta, now that makes perfect sense to me, right? Because of the conversation we had just now. And and I think Tiffany's and I think Tiffany's question was answered. Do you think they need to see where your students are at in the digital literacy side before integrating this tool? That's a very good question too. So Ryan, what do you think about that question?
I think that the ease of access is our students can access a website. That's pretty much all they have to do to be able to participate as in the audience of a Menti or Slido presentation. So, you're given those 3 access options. So again, if you maybe know the digital literacy level of your students, if maybe QR codes they're not there yet, or maybe having to enter in the website and type in the code, the class code or join code is too much. Just presenting that link, that direct link that takes them right to the presentation, as long as they can do that would be the level of digital literacy they need, is just being able to go ahead and click that link, and then they're connected. So, they don't have to do anything kind of beyond that. No downloading of an application or anything like that. No creating of an account. Just click the link, and now you are participating in my presentation.
Okay, so a lot of great comments coming in. There was a question from Daisy. Can you share files with other teachers? That's a good question. Like, you mean, okay, go ahead.
Well, okay, so on the Mentimeter side, if you're talking about like as a collaborator, like you want someone else who is collaborating along with you in the development of the presentation, on Mentimeter, that requires an upgrade. On Slido, yes, you can add, invite an additional collaborator to help. So like maybe if you have a very large audience and you need someone to kind of help manage, kind of like how Ashley and Anne Marie are helping, that other additional collaborator to kind of help manage that, you can add additional collaborators in Slido for free on the free account.
I think she wants to know if you can like make a copy of it. You know what I mean?
Oh, like make a copy
and use it. That's what I was just looking at right now when she asked that, which is a good question, because I think I don't know if you can on either one of them on the free versions anyway. So we'll look into it for you.
Yes. You can add images to Mentimeter slides, but not Slido. Right. So you can add images to Mentimeter, but you cannot add images to Slido. So what you see here is how Slido formats it, and that's it. No additional kind of customization in that way.
Yeah, I was asking that. That's what I was thinking, because that's another thing that kind of made me decide, will make me decide which one I want to use. If I have something that's very visual and I want them to refer to like a graph or something like that,
Yes.
then I would use a Mentimeter, versus if I want something quick and easy, I would go to Slido.
That's excellent. Excellent idea. For sure. For sure. If you do have something that you need to present in a visual along with it, yeah, using that Mentimeter, doing that. Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
this has been wonderful. And I think you've seen there were some great comments about just the ease of use with the phones. Dr. Robinson, very good point. They're very savvy with their phones. And also Shantae said, it's easy, it's good because students can access it on their phones. So wonderful dialogue, everybody. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, thank you. So we'll just talk about how to create a Slido. So again, that free account, this is the website that you would go to create your account. It's at sli.do. You'll create an account. And again, if you have a Google or Gmail, I think that's probably the easiest way to establish an account. And then with that free account, you have unlimited events. And remember, events are how they label their presentation as events. You can have up to 100 participants in your event, an unlimited audience Q&A, 3 polls per event, and then you can invite collaborators, which I think was one of the questions on this one. You can invite collaborators to help develop or manage that particular event. And again, that upgrade does give you some additional features. So creating that Slido, these are the steps that you would follow once we get into that. And so we'll go over these steps because we're going to pop over to the live side, I should say that. Once you have created your event, this is how your audience will participate. So again, you have that direct link. You have the website and the join code, and then you also have the QR code that participants can scan. So you have 3 options to provide to connect and join into your presentation. So one thing about the events presentations are only live for a maximum of 3 days. And so after that 3-day event closes, after that, the 3 days, the event closes. So polls can stay open during the 3 days. So for example, even though I'll end the presentation this afternoon, even if you wanted to go back in, answer a poll, or submit more responses, you have that ability to do that up until the day that it closes, which I believe is on the 10th. So that means you or any of your participants can continue voting and submitting through that date. So that's the difference that you'll see in Mentimeter and in Slido, is that, it is closed after that, particular event date, ending date. And then with Slido, we have the analytics. So it does provide analytics of the event. So remember, I was saying, I can go in and see how many participants have joined. So this is great in making sure that your participants, your students, or whoever you're talking to is able to get into and access your presentation. You can see the number of active participants and their engagement, their poll votes, and then the analytic data can be viewed as an infographic. But in order to export that data, that does require the upgrade. So you can see all of that data, collective data. You can access it as an infographic, and you can actually share the link to that infographic because it creates it kind of like as a web page. So you can do that, but if you wanted to export that data, it does require the upgrade account. So let us go over, and while I'm switching over to the live side, if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat.
Yeah, there was one question and I was able to answer it for you, Ryan, in the chat pod.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so this is the Slido website. This is what it will look like when you go to the website. You're going to log in or create your account. Once you log in, you have your dashboard. So you can see some Slidos here that were created. And then again, if you have team and all of that information, some analytics and all that. So running it directly from your favorite tool. So this is what we've talked about. If you make your presentations in Google Slides, run this Slido presentation from Google Slides. Today, I'm using PowerPoint. I ran my presentation directly from PowerPoint. And so I never left PowerPoint when you guys were doing that Slido demo. But let's go into it and let's see kind of that creation and back end. So, and we're going to click new Slido. So you can create a new one from scratch. So you're creating, from your own ideas, or you can create from a template. So again, if you're looking for ideas or inspiration, there are some templates. And then once you're in that template, you can kind of customize and edit as you need to. But we're going to go from scratch. And again, we're going to have a test. And you have a start date. So whatever the date is that you plan to have this Slido live, you need to put that there, and then an end date. And again, it's a maximum of about 3 days that you can have it open and live. So you do that, it gives you the event code. And again, you asked about collaborators. So if there were additional collaborators that you needed to invite, you can do that as well. And then you schedule your Slido. And as you mentioned, yes, it is very easy to get in here and start using without having to kind of put in a lot of frills and pictures and things like that. So you're going to create your polls, choose what type of poll you're wanting to use, select it, and then you're going to put in your question, your content, whatever you need to. You have a couple of customizations that you might need to click for each of your poll type, and then save it. So that's how you would add to it. A cool thing about this Slido, which I really liked, is you have participant mode over here. So as you're developing your Slido, you also have the ability to see what will this look like from my participants viewpoint, right? So as you're building that, you can see this looks like a little mobile device, and then you can see and even participate kind of in a demo way to kind of see what it looks like as you're building, which is a feature that I really like. That's kind of, it's just built into the site right there, that you don't have to get your own device and join as a fake participant. No, it's just right there, which is really cool. So if you wanted to, as you're building your Slido and see what it looks like from the participant side, you have that option there on the left. You have audience Q&A. You can add audience Q&A. And then in the settings, we can also add that ideas share. So I do want to show you the one that we actually just did, okay? And so this is the behind the scenes of the one that you just participated in. So you did a Q&A, you did the quiz question. I did have these other two, but we didn't ask them in our, ask them yet. So we'll ask those in just a moment. But we did the quiz questions, and you can see how many votes have come in when we did those quiz questions. And then there's a Q&A here that we can have. So again, no questions were really submitted other than the first one, but you can go back and review the questions, kind of check them off as being answered. So you can archive them, you can move them up to the top, all of that option to kind of navigate and make sure you address those questions. And then we have ideas. So we will talk about ideas in just a moment. But remember, I talked about brainstorming. So maybe there is a topic that you need to brainstorm for the presentation that you're giving. You can create a topic, and then once it goes live, your participants are then invited to submit their ideas for that particular topic. So it's not so much of a chat as it is an idea, a brainstorm, right? You're putting in those ideas and it's live, and you're a presenter and you're kind of seeing that all happen in real time. But of course, being able to go back and review them at a later date if they're needed in that way. And then lastly, you have the analytics. So again, we had 17 active participants in our Slido demonstration. The engagement score, so that's how many times, the total number of questions, likes, and poll votes. So you can see kind of your engagement activity of your participants, the likes and dislike levels, and then even the poll votes. So you have that kind of analytic breakdown of how your participants interacted with your poll. And then we said we can review this data in an infographic. So you click your infographic and you can open it up as a link. If you have a website, if that was a need, you can embed this infographic in a website, but it does open up. And this is our infographic to see all of that information that we just saw at our analytics. So our main topics, responses, most influential participants, the total participants sent votes, 64 votes in the 5 polls. So you can see all of that. And the only way that you can share this on the free account is if you were to share this link with whoever needed to be able to access this kind of infographic information. But exporting it, like say in Sheets or some type of format, that does require that upgraded account. Okay, so let me stop. I'm going to pause and let's pause for questions here.
Okay, so Ryan, I may
Yes.
be missing something.
Okay.
and then I may be, but you've created these, your questions, your polls, the things, and you said, so how do you take what you've created in Slido and get them into your PowerPoint presentation?
Yes. When you click the PowerPoint, it does have you download. So what you're downloading is an extension. And so now when you open your PowerPoint application, the desktop application, it's an option that's in your ribbon up there. So you click Slido, it logs into your account, and then you can see the list of your Slido presentations. So I went to this one, and then I just dropped in the poll questions into my PowerPoint. So I just added them over, and it just adds them as a slide into the PowerPoint. So it's all connected, and it allows me to never have to have left PowerPoint, but the information is still sent back to my Slido account here. If you didn't want to do that, if you didn't want to do an app integration, and you just wanted to present this as it is from Slido, you can do that. You would click present, and similar to Mentimeter, it's opening up, and there we have it. This is our Slido presentation.
But if you do the integration in PowerPoint, you'll see it, and it'll drop the slides into your PowerPoint. Okay, gotcha.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me come back over here. I'm going to come back to our PowerPoint, and let's talk about the comparison. So I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but you mentioned it earlier about, Carlotta, you mentioned earlier about some differences between Menti and Slido. And so there are some slight differences. And so again, kind of choosing what would work best for maybe the presentation that you're giving, or your level of, digital literacy in this particular area. So Mentimeter, you're including content and interaction slides. You have to present though from the Mentimeter site, and then you can download your data in a PDF form. Whereas Slido, content slides, if you're just presenting content and not the interactive part, those content slides have to be created outside of Slido. So that would be your Google Slides or PowerPoint that you would create content. Slido is really those poll slides only. And then it can be integrated with those other desktop applications. So the Google Slides or PowerPoint. You can view the live demo in the site while creating an event, which you really couldn't do that in Mentimeter as much. It's right there. It's the button right there for you to see the live demo as you're creating your Slido to see what the participants will see. But on Slido, you do have to upgrade to download that or export that data, I should say, to export. And your events in Slido are live for a max of 3 days. And so it's just a few differences, but still similar in terms of the functionality is really to create a way for your participants, your audience, to be able to engage with you, to be able to have that voice, for you to be able to collect data, formative assessments, exit quizzes, tickets, all of that, for you to give that ability to all of your participants, which is supposed to be in a fairly easy and quick way in terms of connectivity. Like we said, just connecting through that link or connecting through that QR code to join in and participate is really all it takes. So in the chat, let me know if there are any other differences maybe that you noticed, or similarities about the platforms. And then again, if you have any thoughts of maybe when you would use one platform over the other, I would love for you to share that in the chat as well, in the Zoom chat. And so beyond that, are there any more questions about today, the Mentimeter, the Slido, or anything that we kind of talked about today that I can answer for you? Yes, you would use them both. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Katerina. Yes, good, Jesse. That's awesome. It's something for your participants to really get excited about, because it's something different. It's a different feel, and it's almost unexpected because and going through presentations, it's like you don't know what's coming next. And so that really makes you tune in, like, okay, is it a quiz coming up next? Or is it a question or a poll? Or, I want to see my idea, my voice, showing up there on the screen. So yeah, it does keep that level of engagement kind of up. Yes, they're simpler than imagined. Oh, good. They are. They are. It's easy to sign up, easy to get in and start using. It doesn't take a lot of development or anything like that. Very pretty much user friendly, I would say. Yes, definitely good to have in your bag of tools. And you can create one quickly, get in that Slido, create a quick one, and you're on, or Mentimeter, and develop something a little bit more, fluffier. Definitely. Well, if there are no more questions.
Thank you so much, Ryan. This was an incredible presentation. And I do want to share with everybody that Ryan, we are lucky. We are very lucky to have Ryan coming back in October, on October 22nd. So mark your calendars, October 22nd, and she's going to be teaching us how to, I hope I don't mess this up, flip our classroom using Flipgrid.
Yes.
And so turning your classroom, I should say,
Yes.
with Flipgrid. I love that presentation. I mean, I love the title. So again, we're lucky enough that this is going to be a 90-minute presentation as well on October 22nd. So learn how to turn your classroom using Flipgrid with Ryan. And again, I want to thank Ryan for being here today with us. And also, I want to thank Ashley for providing co-host and tech support, and for all of you for joining us today and all of your great questions and feedback and participation. Once again, everybody, I hope you have a beautiful Friday wherever you are. If you are enjoying cooler temperatures like we are in Houston, at least knock on wood right now, enjoy it. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care, everybody. And again, Ryan, on behalf of all of Train PD, we appreciate you so much. Thank you.